just pull up my notes. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for an interview with an elite coach. A lot of the elite coaches are kind of swapping interviews and doing calls for other people. And we're having a lot of fun doing it. So joining us today is Brianne Wetzel. Brianne joined originally in January of 2013. So not, one of our coaches who's been around for eons, but certainly has been around for a while. Currently a 5-star diamonds with 7 lifetime diamonds and an elite coach. Was it just last year or last 2?
Just last year.
Just last year. So an elite coach from last year. And I got to meet her at Summit. And I always think it's cool that, when people come up and say hi, a lot of times I think, people just kind of walk right by and not everybody knows each other. Not everybody recognizes each other, but I always love it when people come up and say hi to me and want to talk a little bit. And we had a nice little chat in the Bridgestone Arena, which I thought was really, really cool. So this is actually our second take at this. The other day we did it and my internet went down, which I guess still happens. I don't know. I'm in a new house here, and for whatever reason, there was like an outage in the whole area. So we're doing a little bit of take 2 here. What I want you to really start with is just tell us your story a little bit. Talk to us about how you got involved with Beachbody. What appealed to you as somebody who was going to be interested in being a coach?
So I think I got into this very differently than most people. I did not get into it for the health or fitness. I originally was approached by my mom about drinking Shakeology, and we couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford anything. My husband had gotten hurt like maybe 6-8 months before that outside the house here, and he was out of work for 12 weeks. So when that happens and you've got one paycheck at home, and that paycheck goes away, like you're pretty much like up a creek. We had no savings. We had no money. By the grace of God, we had a disability policy that had kicked in 3 days before he got hurt. So thankfully that paid our mortgage and kept our lights on, or we would have, we go day by day and we were like, we would have lost our house. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it without that policy. Because he didn't get hurt at work. So his disability policy from his job was like less than $200 a week. It was nothing. It wouldn't have gotten groceries. So everything that we needed went on credit cards, and we had no credit card debt. And then all of a sudden, in just a few months, we were thousands and thousands of dollars in credit card debt. Again, we had deferred our student loans to, try to just make ends meet until he went back to work. And when my mom approached me, we didn't have the money for anything. And she kind of wore me down, and I knew there was a money back guarantee. So I thought, okay, I'll try it. I feel like crap. I never struggled with my weight, but I was never healthy. Not like I feel now anyway. And for me, I was like, you know what, I'll try it. I drank a ton of coffee. I didn't eat till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So I thought if I can at least just get one good thing in me, then maybe that's a start. So I tried it and I really ate my words. I of course love it. It's 2.5 years later and I still drink it every day. But at the time we couldn't afford it. It was $119 at the time. And we just didn't have the money no matter where I tried to pull it from. And she had said, well, if you sign up as a coach, you can get a discount on your Shakeology. And I was like, well, I don't know, even $90 was a lot for us to come up with. We had, my kids were, how were they when I started? My older one had just turned 5 and the baby was a year old. And, kids aren't cheap. We live in Northwestern Connecticut. The cost of living here is ridiculous. And I wasn't working. And I was like, I feel like I can't spend that kind of money on something just for me. And she was like, well, if you get 3 people to buy Shakeology from you, then yours is free. And I was like, well, that I could do. I have like 500 friends on Facebook. I could find 3 people, to buy this from me. So that's really what I did. I signed up as a coach. I bought my bag of Shakeology for $89. And I sold stuff like on Facebook, on Craigslist to get the money to buy that bag of Shakeology. I mean, if you really want it, you'll find the money from somewhere, I guess. And that was it. I went online and I was like, well, I guess I'll just talk about it. And I didn't know that I had a Star Diamond upline that I could go to for training. My mom was brand new herself and honest, and she'll tell you she couldn't tell the difference between her news feed and her wall on Facebook. Like she didn't know anything about it. So she had like this 50-something-year-old woman, and she's like, I don't know. You're supposed to post about it on Facebook. I don't know. She's a trainer. So she just started all her clients drinking it instantly and like had this huge business from day one. So I just went on Google. I Googled everything. I YouTubed whatever I could. I watched Jimmy's channel a ton. I mean, I learned so much from that, just searching on YouTube for different videos to watch about how the business worked, about the compensation plan. And that was it. I got 3 people to buy Shakeology. And then I was like, wow, if I get 3 more people to buy it, I could get Brett a bag of Shakeology. And he was 50 pounds overweight. He needed to drink it more than I did. And I did. And then I was like, wow, if I get another 3 people, then that's $100, then that's my gas and that's my groceries. And that was it. And that's really just how I started. And I just talked to people about what I liked about it. And it wasn't until in the midst of this, I had gone on and found all the different success stories that we have in the back office, that those, I mean, they're old videos. But guys like Mike Ryan are on there, and Christina Delgado and Brigitte. And they were people just like me. Brigitte talking about how she's got her kids, and they don't have money for food, and you have to go and you have to find whatever crap you have in your house to sell to go buy groceries. I mean, that was us. I used to stand at the checkout line, like crossing my fingers that my debit card would go through when we needed to get groceries. And that's a shitty feeling. Like, I don't want anybody to ever have to feel like that. That sucks. So for me, once I saw the income potential of this business and what it really could do for people, for me, I mean, it was just kind of like a no-brainer. I just took it and ran.
Yeah. So, I think it's an interesting point. I think a lot of times, we're always trying to enroll coaches, and we always want to talk about the why. What's your why? 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 And I think sometimes we ask people to bridge a gap that's too big. I was talking about this on Jamie Shepard's call last night, but the bigger why of retiring your husband, or providing for your family, or creating a college savings account or something like that. It's not that those things aren't important, and it's not something you should focus on, but what you talked about was getting motivated about an extra $100. And just how important that is to you. And so, for those people out there who, are in that situation, don't downplay the importance of an extra $100 because it might be, something that really is super important to your family, and also something that where, it jumpstarts for you a much, much larger business. So after that point, you said you just kind of took it and ran with it, obviously a self-starter. And maybe we'll get into that next, but I want to hear, so were you primarily working on Facebook at the time? And is that, or are you more of a face-to-face person, or where's your space? I
am primarily, still to this day, primarily through Facebook. Yeah. I have a very small group of local coaches, very small. Yeah. And I just feel like I do much better on the computer. I tell everybody I'm a lot cooler on the internet than I am in person. I have, this business has done a lot for me. I really have kind of like come out of my shell because, and it was very funny. I was thinking about it today after the first take when we were talking about how I had come up to you and I had saw you at Bridgestone, and I had seen Jimmy the night before. And, Jimmy had said to me online, you better come up and you better make sure that you say hi to me. I remember Monica walking by me at Leadership in the fall and being like, I can't even say hi. Like, I was so like almost like starstruck that I just so I feel like this has helped me a lot get out of my shell. But I do primarily work off of Facebook. It's very little that I do face to face, because I feel like a lot of people that I grew up with are all over the country. They're still back in New York where I grew up, and they're all over the place. And I feel like if you're reconnecting with people, having that platform of Facebook, it does so much more than having just your market that's 5 to 10 miles away from you. So I primarily work off Facebook, and I have a blog that I work off of, but Facebook is I think 90% of all of our businesses, at least, just because
Yeah.
it's got such, I mean, even corporate's all over Facebook. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like, that's just our thing.
Yeah, it is. No, it's an interesting, I guess the interesting comment is about, maybe being a little bit of an introvert. And, I had the same experience. I mean, I was really kind of closed off and didn't want to talk to people. And, when I thought this business was contingent on me doing it, because that's what Monica was doing. Monica is much more of the, face-to-face friendly, let me get to know you. Let's go have a cup of coffee. Come on over to Fit Club, or just come over and work out. Or, that's how Monica was building her business, because that's who she is, And when I was watching her do what she was doing, I was like, I can't do that. There's no way I could go and talk to people about this face-to-face. And I had no experience online either. I didn't have a Facebook account then, or have any clue of what I was doing. And it's really funny. I have a very similar story, because I did the same thing you did, which was I Googled it. And, I just went and figured it out. I figured out how to do all this stuff, and figured out how to make online marketing work for me. And it is also, I think, a time thing where, I could, because I was practicing law, I could, work at 2 a.m. answering emails or whatever, right? I couldn't go meet with somebody at 2. I guess I could, but I don't know. Well, I don't know how much we'd get done at 2 a.m, right? So I think it's interesting. And I guess the what I just want to tell the people on a team is, really know thyself, like understand that there's a lot of different venues that we work in and that we operate in. And Facebook is a huge one. And you probably have to be on Facebook at this point. I mean, even if you're building a local team, you probably have to be active on Facebook just to connect with those people, because that's where they're at. But if you're, one of those people who is, a lot more social and a lot more out there, right? It's a good idea to take advantage of that and find some, local clubs, running clubs, whatever it is, moms clubs, soccer moms, all that. There's a million different things on meetup.com where you can go and get into those conversations if that's your thing. But I think it's interesting that you gravitated more towards the online marketing because you were a little shy. So what do you credit for that change and making that change in you?
That's a lot of personal development. I mean, I just got to the point that I was like, you know what? I have to just kind of figure out how I'm going to get over this. And I worked in advertising when I was 22, right out of college. And it was hard for me. I had to go in and I had to negotiate these deals and talk with these, these big attorneys and these big executives that are in their 40s and their 50s. And I'm like this kid that I don't even know which end is up. And it took like everything that I had in me. I failed public speaking when I was in college. I was terrible at it. I was nervous and I would stutter. And I think the more that we just kind of get used to it, I mean, this is not like any other network marketing company out there. I mean, this is a business of stories. And I feel like if you can get comfortable telling people your story, which is really parts of you that are the most vulnerable, then you really can kind of just wing it and figure the rest out. I mean, for me, it was really kind of taking the initiative to lead lead calls like this for my team, lead regular calls, just to get used to talking to people over and over and over again. But it's still daunting, I think, for a lot of us that are, naturally, as I like to call it, like an outgoing introvert that, we kind of get to Summit and it's exciting to see everybody. But after like 3 hours, I'm kind of like, all right, I need a break. I got to go sit somewhere and
time out.
Yeah. But I think that comes with time. There's some people that are just naturally good at it. The people that naturally shoot videos all the time. It took forever for me to do one video. And it's just not me. I mean, I do them for my team because I feel like we all kind of have to do them. And as you do them, you get more comfortable with them. But that wasn't something that right off the bat, I was like, this is going to be my thing. I'm going to do this, because it very clearly is not. And I think that the personal development that we do helps so much, not just for ourselves in the business, but ourselves in every aspect of our life. So I definitely credit that, but you have to be doing the right kind of personal development too. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. So what do you think along those lines of like specifically kind of coming out of your shell or, getting more comfortable telling your story, being a little bit more vulnerable? What's helped you with that?
So, I love Eat That Frog because that was what I read when I was like, I'm really not good with videos. I'm terrible with them. And I have a friend of mine who's a coach and he doesn't do videos, but he should do a lot more because he's really fantastic on camera. He's very magnetic. He's very exciting. And, he was like, you should just do them. And I was like, no, I can't do them. That's not, I don't do video. Right. And he was like, no, you have to get this book. It's really good. And I think that's a really helpful book. If there's for anything that anybody may be struggling with. I mean, for a lot of my coaches, it's the fear of being told no and the fear of inviting and the fear of putting yourself out there. And I feel like the more we kind of just force ourselves to do it, because that fear that's all in us. I mean, that's all in our heads. If you think you can't do it, you can't. Yeah. So that's a big one. I'm a big fan of anything John Maxwell because I feel like that really helped me with growth as a person. Mm-hmm. I tend to do much more personal development than any books that are more like business related.
Right.
But a lot of books that are recommended, I don't always read. Yeah. The books like the You Are a Badass and stuff like that, I haven't read any of them.
Okay. Interesting. What about like personality types? You guys work on those, study those?
So we work on those, and I try to figure out. I'm going to turn my notifications off. Yeah. We do a lot of talking about personality types. Okay, that didn't work. Clearly, that didn't work.
We were trying to get this done before the call.
Because I didn't hit save. There we go. That should work. This is really funny. This is Christy Curtis, who's 3 days from a bikini competition, messaging me to tell me she wants ice cream.
Oh, good.
That's what that was.
Called out.
Called out, right? Sorry.
Personality types.
Personalities.
Yeah, no problem.
So I have tried to get my coaches to kind of adhere to the color code. I don't feel like it works because I feel like it asks too many questions about when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm totally different now as a kid than as I was as a kid than I am now. So we shifted to using the gems, and I don't know a lot about Danny Johnson at all, but I like her little gems. I feel like they're very spot on. And I feel like once my coach, we have a thing in our team page, and I have the coaches, when they start their training, it's, read this, kind of take a look at it and tell me what you feel like you most identify with. And I feel like that's helped a lot of coaches figure out what they are. And I think it helps us as leaders work way better with them because you have to just appeal to each one of those personality types so incredibly. They're also different that, I feel like that is something that really has helped the culture of our team because now I kind of know how to relate to each one of them a little better. Or I have a leader on the team that's more like them that I can kind of help them work with so that it's not so many personalities that are kind of clashing all the time.
Yeah, I feel like that for me, it was Personality Plus, which is very similar to GEMS. Florence Littauer is the author of that. And that was one of the guys who was mentoring me was like, first step, read this book. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. So this is why I do the things I do and why they sometimes drive people crazy. And, was why Monica does the things that she does and why maybe they sometimes drive me crazy or whatever. And, I just remember learning so much about myself through that process, as well as other people, and learning how to recognize those personality types, I think was huge for me. It helped me become such a better communicator because I know, if somebody's got a certain type of personality, I have to show up a certain way. If they're, if they're that sort of, sapphire or sanguine, whatever language you want to use, personality, I have to bring a lot of energy to the conversation, and I got to show up and maybe have a little iced coffee before we get on the phone and get charged up a little bit. But if somebody's that, more pearl, phlegmatic personality, you got to slow down with those people.
Yeah.
You can't get real aggressive with them or they'll just freak out on you. You know, they just get intimidated very easily. It doesn't mean they're bad coaches or anything. Some of our best coaches are those people, because I'm able to appeal to their desire to help other people.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I think the personality types have been huge for me anyway. And I think on our team, that's something we really focus on a lot. There was another question I was going to ask you though about, it wasn't personal. What was I going to ask you? Darn it. Let me see if I wrote it down. Get into my phone here and write my notes. Where are you? So talk to me a little bit about, so this is what I was going to talk about like Googling it. So when you get started and we're, looking for information and trying to figure it out, I think what you said earlier was, you just went and searched for stuff and went and found the information you needed to go and do it. What do you think motivates somebody to go do it? Because I think sometimes we're a little too quick to say, well, just go do it. What's driving that? How do you get there?
I think a lot of that is innate. I mean, I think that some of us kind of have that natural sort of Ruby aspect to us. I mean, I think that there are certain people who are, born with that kind of drive in them. And just as I think that there's people who are born with that emerald in them, that they look at those facts and figures and they just look at it and it just kind of clicks.
Yes.
But I think to an extent, I was always somebody who like tried to be better than what I was. Like I tried to do sports when I was a kid. I was never very good, but I always really wanted to try because I really wanted to be good at them. And I just am not. There's like not an athletic bone in me at all. But I really tried to be. And I think that was a lot of it. And, my parents were always big proponents of, look, whatever you're going to do, like, just do it. Just do the best that you can. You don't have to be number one. But I was like, no, I'm going to be number one. Yeah. And I'm not type A at all. I feel like if you ask my husband if I was type A, he would probably laugh in your face. I'm like organized chaos. Yeah. But I'm very driven and I can be very focused. And for me, when I put my mind to something, there's like blinders on. So if I said that I was going to do this, I was just going to figure out a way to do it, because we were at the point, I mean, I'd already bought a bag of Shakeology, I'd already bought more bags of Shakeology. And I was at the point now that I was like, I have to make this money back. Like I can't fail at this. This is, really what we need to do. When Brett was home, I had, tried to look for work, but he was out of work. And once he went back, he works like, 70 hours a week. So for me to try to find something that would make enough money plus cover the cost of daycare to really be something substantial, it was really hard. So this kind of came around to me in like September, and it wasn't until January that I kind of really, signed up. And then it was like another month until I really started to kind of see the bigger picture of it. And once I saw that, I was like, you know what, this is the opportunity that kind of checks yes to everything that I've really been looking for. And if I have all these things that I want to do, and this is what's going to allow me to do them, then I just have to figure out how to make this work. Clearly other people have too. Why not me? Why can't I do this? But that drive, always kind of had that drive of kind of just wanting more than, wanting to just be better than where we are. Right. I grew up very, very privileged. My parents never struggled. We were very, very fortunate as kids. We had everything that we ever wanted under the sun. And my husband was just the opposite. So he was, the child of a teen mom. My mother-in-law worked 4 jobs to keep a roof over his head, put food on the table. He was 8, 9 years old. He would come home from school, make himself dinner because she was at work. And she really just wanted to make sure that he had everything that he needed, no matter what. And it got to a point that when he was 15 or 16, he was homeless for quite a while. Wow. And then would stay with relatives, would stay with friends, wherever he could. And, I think that his drive comes from the fact that he wants more. And I, of course, want that. I mean, I think we all want better for our kids than how we grew up, no matter how well off we happen to be growing up. So that's a big factor in it, I think, is, when you have a really strong why, you'll just kind of figure it out. And I think that's where a big disconnect with a lot of coaches may come in, is you have to really drill down into that and figure out, what that why is. And if your why is strong, then you've got to figure out why the behaviors aren't matching that why. And if that's the case, then maybe it's not strong enough. Maybe it's not the right reason. Maybe you've got to kind of revisit it a year later or 2 years later or whatever. But, for me, I was never somebody that needed kind of like that push to go do something. If I was like, oh, this is a good idea, I'm just going to kind of go and do it. We'll just figure it out and kind of see what happens. And maybe this will work out,
Right. So now as you're building a team, obviously you get to the point where you're an elite coach, you've built a team. That's one of the requirements, by the way. If those of you out there are wondering what elite coaches do,
you have to have a team.
Yeah, you got to have a team. It's actually more about your team than it is you.
It's all about your team.
Yeah,
it's all about your team. You could be the best coach in the world, but
if you don't have a team, if you want to be an elite coach, that's your tip. So as you're out there recruiting people, do you lead with the business, since that's kind of how you came in, or are you on the fitness side as well, or kind of how does that work for you? What's your process?
So I usually lead with the business. 1 second.
Hi.
That's Maddie. It's 4:00 and Maddie has her pajamas on.
Uh-huh.
I have a kid she's a homebody, man. I usually lead with the business.
Okay.
Because for me, I feel like it's a huge opportunity. Now, I have to say that really kind of depends on, I think, the market of people that we kind of talk to. A lot of my Facebook market is women in their 30s who have kids and are usually looking to get healthier or lose weight or have something easy that's healthy for them, for the kids. But a lot of them are staying at home, and they're staying at home because daycare is too expensive. So they're not home because they can afford to stay home.
Right.
So for me to have people like this that, I feel like very few people understand how incredible this opportunity actually is. And I feel like when we find those people that really kind of sit back and they go, holy crap, like this is a huge opportunity. Out. No, give me a minute. I'm actually surprised she lasted this long before she got there. So nosy.
This is working from home, guys.
This is working from home.
That's what it looks like.
But at least I don't have wine yet. When they see this opportunity, I feel like for them, it's twofold. They can make a little bit of extra money, and that goes back to that $100. I mean, I have so many coaches that, their first 30 days, they would be like, I paid our cell phone bill, or I paid my electric bill, or, I mean, we're here in Connecticut, I just bought oil for the winter, and that's not cheap. I mean, I fill my tank of oil. It's like $700. That's not cheap. So when people see things like that, when they see that, they have this opportunity that they want to get healthy anyway, they want to lose weight anyway, why not make a little money while they're doing it? Those people are a pretty big percentage of our team.
Yes.
Those who kind of dabble in it, they're really strong emerald coaches. They're slowly building, but they're making not a huge income, but a consistent income. I feel like those numbers really make a difference. And I feel like I missed a whole opportunity when I was a newer coach because I felt like I had to be making a lot of money to be able to post about it and share about it. And now that, 2.5 years later, I look back and I'm like, my God, when I was making like $200 a week, why didn't I share that? I mean, you have somebody who makes $100 a week, that's a car payment, cover your car payment, cover your car insurance. And, too often I think we dismiss that because there's so much income potential in this company that we're constantly looking to get to the next rung of the ladder. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I think we all are when we see kind of the opportunity that's in front of us. But, for the newer coaches, don't feel like you're not successful if you're making a couple $100 a week. That's $1,000 a month for sitting at home with your kids doing.
Right. Which is, really life-changing for a lot of people. I mean, it's kind of, going back to your story of, in the beginning, it was like, wow, so get 3, mine's free, get 3 more, my husband's is free, and get 3 more, and I get $100. Like, wow, I need $100.
And that's, that's all it is. I don't know anybody that would walk past a $100 bill on the street and not pick it up. No matter how much money is in your bank account, I don't think anybody's going to walk by a $100 bill. And I wouldn't walk by a 20 and not pick it up. I mean, and I think that, we don't realize this opportunity that's in front of us. And I think we get very skewed by the network. I am not a top earner by any means in this network, but my husband came home on Friday and I was talking about like, it was our biggest week yet. I was so excited. I was like jumping for joy. And he came home and he was like, you made almost twice what I made this week. And I worked 65 hours this week. How many hours did you work? And I was like, I don't know, like 12.
Right.
And I think that that's really what it is. And I think the other thing is that, as your income grows, it's not about the money, but, it's that freedom that we kind of get from having that. And I think that, the money's great. My bills are paid. My credit cards are being paid off. The student loans are being paid off. I owe much less people money than I did, 2.5 years ago. But he's able to just say, oh, I'm out of vacation time. I'm still going to take a couple of days off.
Right.
And we're going to take the kids and go do something.
Yeah.
Or, let's put the kids in the car and drive somewhere for the weekend. Because we used to not have the gas money to go anywhere, let alone just take a road trip.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of went off on a really big tangent.
No, I thought it was great though. No, I think you're right. I think it's really easy to, corporate is going to celebrate a certain group of people, and on occasion they'll give us the Super Saturday stories. I think a lot of times, and they're stories that are, I don't know, entry level is maybe the word I would use. They're usually people who haven't been coaching very long, right? And so they don't have that I'm earning $10,000 a week or whatever sort of a story, right? They've got a story that's like, oh my gosh, like I earn $1,000 a month and that pays this, that, and the other thing and helps me get out of debt or whatever it is. And I don't think we tell those stories enough. I mean, they do the same thing with weight loss, and I get it, right? I mean, somebody who loses 100 pounds is going to get a lot more attention than somebody who loses 20, but a lot of times those 20-pound weight loss stories are what really motivate people. I mean, I lost, I don't know, like about 40 pounds, which most people go like, oh, okay, well, 40 pounds. Well, good for you, but
40 pounds is a lot, but that's the whole thing.
Most people, and when I say most people, I mean most people like in the network, they're like, oh, so you don't have a big fitness transformation story. And I don't even think that I have a big fitness transformation story. I mean, for me, it was a big deal. But for your average person, like when I tell them like, yeah, I lost 40 pounds. Well, how'd you do that? Because that's what they want to lose is 40 pounds.
Right.
Most people are walking around with 30 or 40 extra pounds on them that they'd love to get rid of. And the idea of doing that, even though it may not be the super sexy, success story transformation thing that Beachbody is going to necessarily feature, it's still part of my story and still part of the story that I tell. And you had talked about this earlier about, learning how to share your story and, focusing on, the elements of your story that work for you. For me now at this point, it's a lot of stuff about business because I really love marketing and advertising. And I've had a lot of success in this business. So that's the story that I tell. But in the beginning, I had that story, and then my story grew and grew and grew, right? I had a story about weight loss that was, for me, a huge deal, not something, again, that was, anything that was going to get me featured by Beachbody or anything like that. But it was enough to compel some people to get in motion. And then, the first thing that I did was I was a triathlon bike that I wanted. I got really into triathlon and I wanted a new bike. And so I worked my butt off and made like $3,500 bucks so I could go buy this bike. Well, all of a sudden now I had a different story, right? Now I had a story. Well, this is a business story. Like, how'd you do that? Like, oh, you get lost 40 pounds and you got a bike, and then it was about putting money in my kids' college fund. I know there's a nice priorities here, but that's how it happened. Right.
Yeah.
So then I had this story about stuffing money in my kids' college fund, which I had never done before, probably because I was buying bicycles, but, but that's what happened. Right. And then, it kind of grew and grew and grew. And I think you're right. If I had hesitated to share what was going on early, the story only grows if you tell it. If you don't tell it, you're not giving people an opportunity to connect to you in a way that's going to allow them to maybe want to follow you, right? Because that's really fundamentally what I believe is going on here is people are following us. There's at some point they develop enough trust in me or you, or you people out there watching it, that they go like, okay, I'm going to do what you're doing. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's the 21-day fix, Body Beast, or the business opportunity, or Shakeology, or the performance line. It's about building trust with those people so that they'll follow you with what you're already doing. If you're not going to tell your story, they don't have any way of even knowing what's going on with you. How could they possibly follow you to a place they don't even know you've been to? And so I think it's so important. And then I got on a tangent there.
But that's it. I mean, our stories kind of evolve with how we go through this business. I talked a lot in the beginning about how I got into this because I wanted to drink Shakeology and I had the money to do it. My first 6 months in, it turned into a health story. My husband, I had said he had 40 something pounds to lose. And, between the stress of him being home and my mother-in-law had died a couple of years before that. It was a very stressful few years for us. He put on like 45 pounds. And at 31, they wanted to put him on blood pressure medication. And I was like, no, we're not having this. That's not going to happen in this house. And
talk about expensive.
We were talking about the reset. I ordered the reset and I was like, this is what we're going to do the reset, you and I. And he was like, no. And I was like, no, we're going to do it. Like just 3 weeks. And I swear I will never ask you to do this again. Just do it once for me. And he did. And in the 21 days, he lost 27 pounds, no medication. And he still now drinks Shakeology 2 years later. Yeah. So he's lost 48 pounds, and he's kept it off. And so that was the story for almost a year of my coaching journey was that, I didn't have this transformation story, but look at what it did for the health of my family. My husband drinks it and he lost all this weight. And then the first quarter that I hit 2-star, we got the quarterly bonus, which to me was like a month's pay. It was like unbelievable. And I posted on Facebook that with the paycheck that I got that week, I was able to pay my mortgage. That I think was the post that literally blew up my business.
Yeah.
Because you have moms like me on Facebook and they're like, I need to do this. Or all those people that had been on the fence for so long, they were like, wait a minute, like you can actually make money doing this. And I was like, what do you people think I've been doing for the last year and a half? Like, yeah, you can make a lot of money doing this. And I think when we have stuff like that, that's relatable, that you've covered your car payment, you've covered your mortgage, you've helped, pay off a credit card bill. You've paid, I post all the time that my Maddie is in karate. That's not cheap. And if I didn't have Beachbody the last couple of years, that would have been the first thing that was cut was karate. Yeah. So be able to pay for all those extras, is huge. And I think that people get very skewed when they see, only these gigantic weekly paychecks, that they think that they're not making an impact, but, you're making a bigger impact than you think. I think when you start to bring home those first couple of paychecks, no matter how small you think they are, they're definitely impactful. At least they were in my house.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think sometimes it leads people to, one of the things I hear a lot as I'm coaching people on talking about your story and telling your story is no one's going to be interested in my story, because it's not as maybe dramatic, and it's like, well, that's not true. People are always interested in stories. They love stories. That's why we have Hollywood makes movies. That's
and most of us are not dramatic.
Stories. Right. Yeah. And so, sharing your story even early on is just the entire game here is learning how to tell your story and then letting your story grow. And then, then your story becomes, I remember back when, and then that's part of the story. I want to move on really quickly, and then I'll cut you loose. So at some point you decided you wanted to be an elite coach. Did you kind of stumble into that, or did you set some goals and make a plan, or how'd that come about for you?
So that actually is really funny. Yeah, I wanted to be an elite coach. My first summit, I was like 5 months in as a coach. I couldn't afford to go. Something in my gut was telling me that I had to go. I had to get there, figure it out, scrape together the money. We didn't have the money to go. I figured I scraped together, $400 and something bucks for a plane ticket and got a spot in a room, and I ended up there, thankfully. And I don't know that my business would be where it is if I hadn't really taken that big leap my first year. So for everybody watching this, if you're not on the wait list for Summit, go put your name on the wait list right now. Because it really is by far the best thing that you can do for your business. I don't care how expensive anybody says it is, you'll make that back tenfold.
Yeah.
But I didn't know really what to expect at Summit. And I flew there by myself. I was wandering around the MGM, and we got our room, and I came down, and everybody was talking about this core, and I'm like, I don't know what this place is. I don't even have money to buy clothes, but I'll figure it out. And we walked in, and I saw those stars.
Yeah. When
you walk into the core, and I saw it had already been elite night, so everybody had already signed their stars. And I remember stopping and looking down and being like, that I want one of those. How do I get my name on one of those? And they were like, well, you have to be elite. And I was like, what do I have to do to get there?
Yes.
And they were like, oh, you have to get on this pod. This is like a conversation in the middle of the course.
Yeah.
So I came back from Summit and I looked it up, and Christy Curtis is cross-line from me under Pete, and she had been an elite coach the year before. And I reached out to her, and I was like, I need to do what you're doing. Like, just tell me what you do. And she was like, I tell a lot of people and they don't listen to me. And I was like, I will listen. Like, you can tell me what to do, and I'll go do it. Just, I need to know what to do to go get there. And she was like, we need to go here. And she told me like where to go to find the points, how to earn the points. And this is what you have to do. And this was like July, and I was a brand new diamond. And I was like, I'm going to figure this. I'm going to do it.
This is July of 2013, right?
This is 2013, but I didn't have the diamonds.
Yeah, sure.
But I had the points.
Wow.
I did that first year with, I just under, I think you needed 100 that first year.
I think so. Yeah. I think it was 100.
I ended with like 90 something points. And I was like, wow, if I had the diamonds, I could have done this.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to develop diamonds. That was a point that I really needed to kind of look back on. And I was like, well, the good thing is now I know what to do next year.
Mm-hmm.
So when in January and February, when everybody was just trying to figure out if they were going to push for it, I had made that decision 3 months earlier that I was going to push for it. So that's a huge, I think, piece of advice. So anybody who would want to be pushing for it next year, get your behaviors in order now, because you've got tons of time. And if you start pushing when everybody is complaining that it's slow in October and November, come January, you guys are going to have the ones that your business is just going to skyrocket.
Okay, this is totally not a setup here. I'm telling everybody this is not a setup.
It's not a setup.
Exactly what I tell my people. Exactly what I tell my people.
Is it really?
I had this exact conversation with somebody just a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, I really want to either get Premier or Elite. And we took a look at like where she was at this year, and it's like, okay, it's good. I'm not saying you can't do it. I would never tell anybody that they can't do anything. I've seen
but it's hard.
Do too many amazing things to say you can't do this year. But what you can do is you can position yourself for next year, because some of the points that you get, without like diving too far into the complexities of how Elite works,
will carry.
You get points from people who are already in your organization. Part of them come from new people. And so you've got to recruit a bunch of people next year too. But by bringing in a bunch of people now, you're setting yourself up with a ton of points for next year. And you're also building those diamonds and giving yourself more time. Why would you only, because I mean, so the way our business works, again, without getting too far into it, Monica and I have, sorry, that's a baseball game that shouldn't be playing. Shut up. We got hung up on this thing. The way Monica and I have built our business is we build each other's business when it makes sense. So we didn't really build my business for almost 2 years. So I had nothing set up. I had to start from really like 1 star and in 1 year build 4 new diamonds and get all the points. And so it's totally doable. You can absolutely do it. We're a little late in the year to start, but what you can do now is you can set yourself up for next year and make it and give yourself a really legitimate shot at making elite for next year. Because that is, really by far what I think is, it's one of these huge things that you can do in your business that it just changes the dynamic. I mean, don't you think being able to tell people that you're an elite coach, what does that do for you? I'll just ask.
For me, it was more of, I'm a big fan of doing things people say I can't do. I'm that person. So when I came back from Summit, I had made all these crazy things that I said I had a success partner at the time, who had been in the business longer than me. I think was the same rank as me, maybe. I don't know, making a lot more money than I was, but I was building and growing as opposed to somebody who was sort of stagnant in the business. And I remember saying, I'm going to get back from Summit and I'm going to open my second business center and I'm going to build it to diamond in 30 days. And he was like, you can't do that. And I was like, well, watch me. Because now that you said I can't do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that whole kind of like mental aspect, is like, try to just tell me something that I can't do and I'll just figure out a way to do it. But for me, as far as elite, it was something that I wanted to push for because I knew that was like the top tier of the company. And I feel like when I want to shoot for something, I'm not like a middle of the road kind of person.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. And I think more so I really tried to communicate it to my team that yes, I am we're the ones who get celebrated and we're the ones who get, the posters and the guitars and the jackets and all the stuff and the titles and, but it's them, and I say to them, they may call me the elite coach, but I'm the one that's leading the elite team.
Right.
And for me, that was a big shift in the dynamic of the team. They really started to turn into like a tribe, and they really started to see that, they all have their own businesses, but, the rising tide lifts all ships, and we all kind of work better
right
when we're working together. And, for them to say, we need to be a 2-time elite team this year. And I was like, well, that's on you guys. That's not on me. I'm doing my part, sponsoring people. You guys now need to, follow suit. And I think it shifted the whole dynamic, but it's exciting to me. I'm, like I said, an introvert. I'm not somebody who loves the limelight, but it's nice to be, I think, recognized and appreciated, for the work that we do. I feel like it's not an easy thing to achieve for anybody. And I feel like it should be celebrated, but it's exciting. I mean, it definitely changed the dynamic of my business and my team.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's another really great piece of advice. Really, that's another thing I did last year to make it is I made sure those people knew what was going on. Like I was like, hey, I need you to make Success Club. Like I just did the numbers and was like, how many people need to make Success Club every month? It's only like 3 people really. I mean, maybe it's 4 now with the new point system, but I was like, okay, so I need those people to make Success Club. So I had a couple of people who were just really my Success Club people. They were like I'm trying, I'm gonna, but I don't count on me for the diamond, but I can make Success Club for you every month. And I really worked with those group of people. Right. Yeah. And then I had other people who were like, I'm pushing for diamond. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to count on you for Success Club and to go diamond. And I'm going to help you build and help you focus because you understand that I'm going for this thing called elite, which depends on you being successful. Right. Which is another thing I think that's just really cool about the elite system with the way they have it now, because, back in the day, it was really based on your own personal performance, which was okay. But now we're so incentivized to work with the people in our organizations and help them build and grow and learn, and then, step up and become the elite coaches of the future. That I do think it's just exactly that rising tide lifts all ships, and that it's so important for your team, and so for those of you guys who are there, who, are close or were premier last year, think about the impact of that and really getting your team to go, if you were a premier coach, we have several, think about the difference in your team if you went from 2 diamonds to 5 diamonds or 6 diamonds. Now you just have a lot more firepower on your team. It's more people to handle the load, more people to help do team calls and help, distribute whatever information you have and come up with creative marketing ideas that everybody can benefit from. That's only going to make you better, So I think Elite is huge. I'm a huge believer in Elite. Monica's been Elite every year that they've had it. We both made it last year because it just made sense to start building my business. And I just think it's been such an important part of the growth of our team. And I'm a huge fan. So if you're one of those people, make sure you understand what the point systems are. And if you don't, get a hold of me. Did you want to add something?
No, I think it just brings a different dynamic to the team. I think it definitely instills more camaraderie on the team when everybody kind of knows that, they've all had a hand in the success of the team.
Yeah.
I feel like with the way that the network grows, and it's been growing so fast, especially the last year and a half, people, I think that coaches can kind of start to feel almost lost in the shuffle, and having almost that Elite title lets them know that it's much more close knit than another team that's not Elite. That's a bad choice of words, but you know what I mean? Like I think that, having coaches come in and say, look, like, you are an integral part of this team. Don't think that because you're one person, whether, there's 300 coaches in the team or 500 or 3,000, don't think that you're not an important part of the team. I think it makes everybody feel like they have this little specific role to kind of fill and what they can bring to the table. Yeah. So I definitely think it's a great thing. And I think I really love that it is based on what you can do as a team.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't rely on just you being like a high retailer or just being somebody who can only sponsor coaches, but can't do them, because there's a big difference, I feel, between being a really good recruiter and a really good leader. And I don't think that they're mutually inclusive. So
no, they're not. Yeah. There are a lot of people who are good recruiters, but they're not very good sponsors. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that totally. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you much longer because I've had you for almost an hour now. And it's an hour and a half, including the call that got cut off. So I really,
and it's very funny. I looked up about 20 seconds ago and I'm like, okay, I wasn't sure that the little recording light was on. And I thought,
that would have been bad.
That would have been bad.
Yeah, I would have had.
That would have been a really long chat to nobody.
I would have had to buy you dinner or something, make up for that one. Okay, well, thank you so much for
no problem.
I'm happy to do it. Looking forward to having the opportunity to talk to your people and having another conversation with you. And we'll schedule that if we haven't already. I can't remember. I think we did.
We haven't. We'll figure it out.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Cool. So thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Go find Brianne Wetzel and tell her how awesome she is.
Yeah, come and find me.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Thanks.